The inherently flawed nature of our world lends itself to criticism and damn well deserves it. Honestly, being critical is way easier than being positive, and I fully admit that as somebody that considers himself to be very critical. But being hypercritical is a different problem. We should criticize our world and enjoy things with a sort of cautious optimism or skeptical optimism. You know, you have to assume things aren't out to get you. You have to assume people around you aren't horrible. You can't act under the assumption that everything's falling apart, then there's no reason to get out of bed. Even self-proclaimed nihilists still get out of bed. They still work to live and eat. They pursue relationships. They have goals. Yeah, things have meaning to us, and we pursue good feelings. If you want to boil that down to the chemical reactions in your brain, that's fine. But most of us know to aid our environment is better than to destroy our environment. And I don't mean like save the trees, I mean your immediate environment, your household, your family, your friends, your classmates, anything that's a part of your life is your environment, and you want to aid it and not hurt it. And that's why something coming into your environment and hurting you and hurting other people and causing stress is such a bad thing, and we try to get rid of it. We usually talk to therapists about it, or we have to call the cops, because when something invades your environment, whatever the environment is, if it's not doing you well and it's doing you harm, that's not good. So we all work to benefit our environment, yet being critical of our environment is very important. And being critical of the things you love within your environment is also important. You have to be critical of everything, to a certain extent. You have to be critical of your significant other. Let's say you have a boyfriend or a girlfriend, and you're gonna just not criticize them if they walk all over you, if they make you feel like shit, if they make you feel unloved, if they take you for granted. You're not going to look at them critically at all. No, it's not a good idea. Let's say you collect action figures. You probably watch a review or two before you spend your money, and once you get it, if you see enough action figures and you probably have an opinion on the thing you spent money on, you might look at it and go, I wish the paint was different here, or this mold was different here, but it's okay. But that's what I'm saying. Being hypercritical is a problem. Being critical really, in my opinion, isn't in any way a problem. The hyper, always critical shit doesn't help anyone. Looking at everything as if it should be high art or 100 times better than it is wrong. Our world is inherently flawed, and not everything is going to win Academy Awards. We want things to benefit our environment and to feel like they're worth our time, and therefore that's where the critical eye is necessary. Because you have to discern and discriminate in order to make your life better. Constantly, again, discriminating and being a bit of a bigot in the right way is good. But you can get in a loop where everything needs to have holes poked in it. Not just from a skeptical mindset, but everything needs to have holes poked in it. Now, again, this is coming from a very critical person. Being hypercritical is counterproductive. It's pointless. A really good example is a video I watched a while back, and I'm not gonna slam the guy, because he just makes he has a little channel where he talks about Disney movies. I don't know how little it is. I haven't watched it in a long time. Either way, this one dude fucking talked about how he was ranking Disney movies, right? And I think one of his least favorite Disney movies, like one of the worst in his mind, was Cars. And he said that Cars didn't make sense because, the logistics of Cars didn't make sense. If you've seen the movie Cars or Cars 2 or Cars 3, can you imagine somebody watching that movie and going, well, this isn't realistic at all, there's no logic to it. Motherfucker, it's about talking cars. Now, his bias came in because he clearly just didn't like the movie but couldn't explain really why, and I don't really care. Cars is an okay movie, whatever. But he was okay with Toy Story and Finding Nemo. Talking fish? Fine. Talking toys? Fine. Talking cars? Doesn't make any sense to me. I don't see the logic in that. Like, seriously, imagine being so overly critical or attempting to be critical. I don't think it's actually really that critical to say that Cars is unrealistic, but imagine in an attempt to criticize something, you completely miss the point.
Yeah, I've never done that.
This is what happens when people are hypercritical. These people describe Call of Duty as just a game where you run around and shoot people. Yeah, that's why people like it. And also, name a shooter that isn't about running around and shooting people. It's gonna be kind of hard, don't you think? People might designate other people as stupid, incompetent, poor consumers for enjoying a certain type of video game, whether it's Kingdom Hearts, Call of Duty, Halo, Battlefield, Battlefront, whatever it might be. Game criticism is important unless you are being so critical that you are forgetting why people enjoy things. If you can't put yourself in other people's shoes and realize why they like something, you're gonna have a problem convincing people of your opinion. You have to look at the things you don't like as a language you don't speak. Clearly other people speak it, and you're just not in that clique. It's one of the reasons I don't like CinemaSins. Well, I don't like it for two reasons. One, they can't decide if they're satire or they're actually movie reviewers. I don't want to get into that. But really, it's just the idea of, even if it's like 100% satire, it's just comedy, there's nothing funny to me about somebody sitting down and autistically pointing out every single fucking thing in the movie that could be better. To me, that's obnoxious as hell, because some people actually fucking... Oh god, I'm choking. Okay, I'm fine. The reason I have a problem with it is because some people actually think that way. I know people that think that way. They watch movies and they dissect every frame of it. It's pointless. And usually, the problem is that they're not even right. In the act of trying to be so critical, they forget context. They forget that other people exist and that not everything's for them. There's large groups of FPS YouTubers that don't like progression systems in their FPS games. They don't like games that make you have to do all this leveling and grinding to unlock guns and attachments. Now I see where they're coming from, but then they go ahead and call it arbitrary, pointless, useless, or only for the casuals. Even if they're 100% right on that, and that's defensible. Obviously, competitive players playing at a very high level don't really care about grinding XP, they care about kicking your ass. But you have to think about the things you don't understand as, again, a language you don't speak. If you don't like something, but constantly people are asking for it, there's probably a good reason. These similar pretentious assholes will go on to tell you, and yes, I'm definitely kind of creating a straw man here, definitely kinda. But what I've seen is a lot of these types of people will try to tell you that you don't know what you really want, you don't know what you actually think. Now this is true in a lot of cases. People do not take the time to think about what they want or think if something's an actual useful thing for their environment, and that's true. But also, it's just really a way to categorize the people you don't agree with as a bunch of confused idiots. So in being critical, make sure you don't get into this hypercritical mindset where you kind of forget that other people exist and they enjoy different things, and even if they're not smart enough to verbalize why, they clearly do, and that has value. Make sure you don't go off the critical deep end and start picking apart Pixar movies for their realistic inaccuracies and logical issues. Every Disney story is an archetypal story done with outrageous themes, ideas, concepts, magic, all of that. If you watch to this part in my video, it's probably because you enjoy my content and you're not just stopping by. You know, obviously gameplay commentaries are not the most entertaining thing to watch, so if you're hanging around and you like my stuff, that's great. I will say that I struggle with this quite a bit. I'm mostly pessimistic, pragmatic, and overly critical. But the reason I'm making this video is because, primarily, of things like Kingdom Hearts. A game that I know is corny. I know it's not high art. The story is actually kind of stereotypical. Light versus darkness, friendship versus the loner asshole. There's nuances, and that's a complete oversimplification of the story, but still. I can look at things and know that they're not high art. I can know that they're not this magnificent combination of human achievement. But it means something to me. And if I'm going to value how I feel about things, and I'm going to value my opinion and my preference, then equally, I need to value your opinion, your preference, and your value, especially when we're talking about something as inconsequential as our video game preferences or movie preferences or things of the sort. If you've ever listened to a bad song, a poorly written, by-the-numbers pop song that's just catchy, but you found yourself humming it, or thinking it was catchy, or thinking it sounded good, and for me that's Fall Out Boy, in my opinion. That's just Like Fall Out Boy, I think it's kind of corny, but like, good God, do they have these infectious beats. If you see yourself enjoying something you think is fundamentally flawed and bad, you've just stumbled onto why hyper-criticism is unnecessary and pointless. The flawed nature of our universe deserves criticism, but we're not perfect, and your tastes are not above other people's tastes, and that's just an important thing to know. So anyway, done with this ramble. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video or this type of content, leave a like. There are links in the description to follow me on Twitter and subscribe and whatever. Okay, there's a PayPal link down there. You got me. Fuck it. Whatever. Goodbye. See you later. Whatever. Bye.